All right, guys. We are back home. Honestly, man, my internet the last few days has been kind of sketchy. But we're back. We're back home. It's good to be home. We can enjoy ourselves on our gigabit internet connection. The SPY is mostly bounced back. We had a pretty green day yesterday also. Today we're flat and some stuff, but let's go ahead and get the stream up. I'm home, man. I'm at my computer right now. Feels good, man. Feels good. We'll see if we can get some good stuff. Honestly, it's just right back business as usual. Yeah. The Fed is also considering an emergency rate cut next week. In September. Well, that happened. You can vote on the poll. Alright, we're here. Well, I think the flash crash we had Monday morning scared a lot of people. And again, the crash was originally from... The crash was obvious. It was originally from the Japanese yen. So again, I talked about this a lot the last few days. But what happened was that the Japanese yen is something that investors use to get cheap leverage, right? You got to think of the Japanese yen in like it's cheap money, right? It's cheap money for a lot of people, for a lot of investors, and they use the Japanese yen to get leverage, and then they buy U.S. assets with it, like stocks, bonds, stuff like that, right? Well, what ultimately happened is that the Bank of Japan came out much more hawkish, which means much more restrictive than originally thought, right? And what that restriction means for the yen is that it might not be as cheap of leverage as it has been, you know, and it's why originally people flocked to it. Well, if it doesn't give that cheap leverage that all these traders are using to buy U.S. assets with, what did the U.S. traders do? They unloaded a lot of their yen positions that they bought U.S., you know, stocks, bonds, financial assets with. And so what happened on Monday is with that influx of selling in U.S. assets, the market dumped. And now we've since rebounded a pretty decent amount here. Bitcoin all the way back to 61. You can see Nvidia, if we put a 10-day chart up, Nvidia's over $100, which I think is great. I think it just needs to hold over $100. If it can hold over $100, it's doing good. You know, and again, this is kind of like, people always talk about it like the end of the world scenario. You know, like I think people who predict market crashes are so desperate for it, right? Like maybe they missed out on the big runs last year and they feel dumb about it. Maybe they, you know, watch a bunch of financial political news and they're telling them, hey, it's the worst it could ever be. And like, it's really hard for them to accept it might not be that bad because that means they're being a little bit gullible, I guess is the easiest word for it. And so, you know, they end up just really pushing this market crash situation. A lot of YouTubers do it as well. Like a lot of YouTubers are telling you the market's going to crash every other freaking week. And like if they say it, if they tell you the market's going to crash every 2 weeks, eventually they're going to be right. But it doesn't mean they're right, if that makes sense, right? Eventually they're going to get it right. If you throw darts at a dartboard, you'll hit it eventually, you know, but it doesn't mean that you're accurate. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot over the last few weeks. Like a lot of people pushing for market crash. And again, if you look at the easiest way to put it is look at the SPY, right? Here's a yearly chart on the SPY. Very strong over the last 52 weeks. We basically retraced all the way back up to where we were. And so it's not looking that bad. Now, this is on the cusp of CPI inflation data coming out next week, which is a monster report. Very big report. PPI drops Tuesday, CPI drops Wednesday. That's a major report that we should be paying attention to, and we're going to stream it all next week. It's one of the biggest CPI reports, I think, because it's really influential over the Fed. It's also really telling of what the state of economics in the market is right now. You know, CPI is inflation. PPI is producer inflation. So really, we're going to get seller producer inflation first, and then buyer inflation next, Tuesday and Wednesday. And we're going to stream the whole thing live, as we always do. We'll have thousands of people here. CPI is one of our biggest streams. We'll have at least 3, 4, 5,000 people watching that stream concurrently, simultaneously. So it'll be fun. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is it clickbait though? It depends on your definition. Maybe they're right. Like, I think they're just trying to predict a crash, and I can't really hate on some of them. I'm not really talking about anybody in particular. I think that, I think some of them have a lot of different biases, right? And maybe they're right. I think, a lot of them, it's an election year, and so if you swing to like the right, for instance, right, and I try to stay away from talking about this, but if you swing to the right, and again, I'm not against you, like, I'm neutral. I genuinely am neutral. I'm not even just saying that because I'm on YouTube. Like, I'm genuinely neutral, right? Like, I don't really shill for either side. I go by policy alone. I'm mostly a capitalist, right? Like, I'm a capitalist. I think there's some things that can be, like, I think college should be free in some instances because that's the standard of the rest of the world, and that big education is kind of taken over and locked young people in debt, and it's just too expensive. And so there's a lot of, I go by policy is what I'm trying to say. But I'm very neutral. I really am right in the middle. Like, both sides would dislike me if I told them, like, if I went with like policy after policy, both sides would probably dislike me, and that's the way I'd rather keep it. But my point is, it's an election year. And so there's a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of stuff. Everybody's talking about how good or bad the economy is. And again, it's somewhere in the middle. Like, right now, we're not in a recession or depression, but we're also not really in a good spot because of inflation problems and price increases over the last 5 years. And so we're somewhere in the middle of like good and bad in terms of like, we got an okay economy, 2.8% GDP last week. But inflation's still freaking high, and it's gone up so much in 5 years. It's not like things are great. But again, it's an election year, and so super polarized viewpoints, and that means everybody's predicting a market crash every other day. And so again, I'm just here to try to even that out a little bit. Mic's a little hot today. Is it really? Is my mic bad? Let me listen to it. Hold on. Let me listen to it. Ooh. Yeah, it's a little high, I would say. I'll turn the gain down a little bit, but this should be fine. I just had to step back a little bit. Yeah. Let me turn this down a little bit. That might help it. All right, so that should be a little bit better. Let me know if that's better, guys. That should be a little bit better. Yeah, good news is definitely good news right now. I told you guys this before jobless claims came out yesterday. Jobless claims dropped yesterday, and what did I tell you guys? I told you guys we were back at a good news is good news scenario, which means that like economic growth is seen as a positive right now, and economic weakness is seen as a negative. And so when we have higher jobless claims, it's probably going to be a bad thing, is what I said yesterday. And we had lower jobless claims, and so that's a good thing. And the market did react positively to that, and it held up for the most part. It ended up trending upward most of the morning. And most of the day, really. Dipping a little bit this morning in pre-market, but that's all right. We went up all day yesterday, really maintaining a solid upward trend. So, it's not too bad. It could be worse. All right. Yeah, and I'm looking at my indicators here, bro. Like, on point, dude. Again, I'm going to monetize this somehow. But check it out. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Like, zoom in a little bit here. Like, look. Like, I'm looking at the SPY. I'm looking at... Like, look at this. It's pretty on point, I think. Like, look, here's my little indicator. Showed up way back here. Beautiful bounce. Beautiful bounce. We keep scrolling here. Red signal. Beautiful dip. Green signal here, beautiful bounce. Red signal, beautiful dip. This one is iffy, I would say. But if you keep going back here, you got to zoom in a little bit here. Like, look at this. We got a little red signal that dipped down following it. Look at this green signal, literally called the bottom. Look at that green signal, literally called the bottom. It's not going to work every time, but I think, look at that red signal, literally called the top. Got a little breakdown afterwards if we zoom in here. Look at that. So it's getting better. It's getting better. We're continuing to build it up some. Look at that red signal. Beautiful breakdown here. Nice little dump. Look at that green signal. Beautiful bottom. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it at least seems like it works more than it doesn't work. I'm going to put something else on screen. Still developing that. SPY is now technically red on the day here. Nvidia is starting to turn a little bit as well. And remember, Nvidia is kind of influencing the whole market, I would say, in that way. Tesla down a little bit. Tesla bounced all the way back up to over 200 for some point this morning, but I mean, I don't really talk politics because I don't think it's good for business. It's on both. Yeah. Yeah, it's on both. All right, guys, we got over 300 people here already, so it is time, Chad. It is time. All right. Yeah, we got like some Canadian data. I'll put it up on screen. We'll cover it. Like we'll cover all of it. But I'm finally back home, man. I'm just glad to be home. And I'm ready for next week, honestly, man. I'm ready to do jujitsu. I'm ready to do all this stuff back home, man. This is my last vacation of the year. I know I've been traveling a lot lately, guys. But, I mean, what is life if you're not going to have fun and visit cool places and let the kids see some cool stuff? Let the kids see the world, man. They got to see Michigan. They got to see Florida. Yeah. We got some cool pictures. Y'all want to see some Florida pictures? But yeah. Yeah, so we had some earnings this morning too. I'll have to go take a look at it. Yeah, we got some cool pictures. I'm sending them to Pawn so I can send them to you guys. Let me pull Discord up. Yeah, I forgot we had earnings season today too. We're still in a little bit of earnings season. Yeah, we had like CGC Canopy Growth. We got Nikola and KLA dropping earnings this morning. They should be out already, but CGC is a cannabis company. But nothing really major here. Yeah, we got Canadian unemployment rate dropping in 22 minutes. We'll cover that for sure. And we're going to get ready to day trade live on stream like we always do. We got some family picks here. Try not to show too many family pics, but I'll skip my son one. I was going to show my son one, but it's all good. Pictures don't really go through very well, but it's all right. Here's the family. You know. They didn't really go through that well, but yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm still playing with it. Futures are red. Yeah, Tesla's red. SPY is red. Intel is red. I'm still holding some stuff though. I did get my dividend for my Treasury bonds. They paid me $306 in my Treasury bond position. $306 dividend for Treasury bonds. So that's about 5+%. You know, yeah. Yeah. I mean, um I think I think student loans are predatory in a lot of ways, bro. You know, like we got this whole student loan like debate, and I genuinely think most schools should be free, college wise. I think if you want the option to pay for more expensive school, it's fine. But I also think there should be restrictions on how much all higher educations should be able to charge, because I think in terms of how much it is for semesters, it's obscenely expensive. It's obscenely expensive, and I think over time they've just gotten greedier and greedier. Like they know people want to go to specific schools, and so they can charge a really high premium for it, and that causes the price of school to get inflated over time a massive amount, right? And so I think I genuinely am one of those people like make school free. You know, I'm a capitalist without question, but I think there's some things that I'm okay with. If I'm going to pay all this tax money, I like our tax money is wasted in a lot of ways. I'm okay with making school free to a certain extent, you know. No, my daughter's slightly shorter than her mom. Her mom's the dark-haired one. My daughter's the blonde one. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Are you really tall? I'm not like super tall. I'm like 5'11", you know. Uh, I'm not really short, but I'm not really tall either, you know. Uh, which one's your daughter? Yeah. Yeah, Kara and I both look pretty good for our age, and we're both in our mid-30s, so, you know. Which is interesting. Like, a lot of people I grew up with are looking rough, you know, which is fine. You know, I'm not judging too much, I guess. But, yeah. Good genes, bro. Like I said, I looked young my whole life, and I hated it. No 20-year-old wants to look young. I promise you. No 20-year-old wants to look young, and I did. When I was 20, I looked like I was freaking 12. I hated it. But, yeah. Yeah. All matching, huh, Pawn? Yeah, it looks nice, man. Nice family, bro. Are they twins? I can't tell. I don't know. I think if you go with STEM degrees, college is still very useful. Like I think STEM degrees specifically. Like I think like if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or you know stuff like that, it's fine to get a degree and it's necessary to get a degree. I think they should bring back the apprenticeship system. You know, so like I think they should have like back in the day you used to be able to take like back in the day you used to be able to take your bar exam as an example, right? And you used to be able to take the bar and then have like an apprenticeship system in which you like have like an apprenticeship system in which you were able to become like an attorney without needing to go through some super long like 6-year process. If you could pass the bar, then you become an apprentice for like X amount of years, and then boom, you were an attorney. And they're probably better attorneys than somebody that just sits in front of a book for freaking 4 or 5 years, right? And so they need to bring that system back. You know, I think a lot of people And of course, people that go spend that time, they're going to argue for it because confirmation bias. They want to argue that their time there is justified, right, and worth it. But I think there'd be a lot more good lawyers if they allowed that type of system. Doctors is different. I'm okay with the current doctor system. Becoming a doctor, but yeah. Anyways, Nvidia at 106s right now, back over $100. I think $100 is the milestone level, the signal of strength. It needs to hold over $100 right here. If it doesn't hold over $100, I think that's a problem, and I think it looks really, really bad. But if it does, that's a positive, optimistic sign for Nvidia. We'll see what happens. Well, yeah, a history degree is ultimately worthless unless you want to become a history professor. But in that regard, you don't need a history degree. You can just get a general studies degree and become a history professor. I mean, it depends on how specialized your field is. If your field is really specialized and there's a lot of applicants for jobs in that field, then it might be a good idea to get a specialized degree. But most degrees don't require that. Like you can get into law school with a business degree. You can become a history professor with a general studies degree. Like there's a lot of things you can do. And a lot of people just pick the wrong major, and it's because they set the standard. Back in the day, not everybody went to college. Like some people went to college if they had specialized career paths, but a lot of people didn't. And so now the standard is I want my kids to go to college. My kids need to go to college. But I think that's also fading out a little bit more nowadays as well. I think less people want their kids to go to college today than they did 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So it's changing. But I think that just has to do with the rise of information on the internet. You can learn a lot on the internet now without needing to go to college, and especially if it's something entrepreneurial, like business, where you don't want to become a corporate CEO necessarily. You want to start your own businesses, then you definitely shouldn't go to college, in my opinion, aside from maybe taking getting your associates in business just to learn some things. But you don't need to do that. You can learn that stuff online as well. So it's yeah. Most people were in college working among those who didn't. Yeah. Yeah, but I think the apprenticeships would also work, Sam, for attorneys, maybe for doctors. And I think the current system is kind of an apprenticeship system where you work under a doctor as a resident and stuff. But I think it would work in a lot higher up career paths as well. Do you think lawyers will be replaced by AI? Not completely, no. I mean, some of their, again, it's kind of like the Adobe argument. Adobe, everybody thought Adobe was on its way out, right? If we put Adobe chart up, everybody thought Adobe was about to fail. Because why? Because AI is going to replace digital designers, right? And they use Photoshop heavily, and so everybody thought Adobe was gone, right? It was done for. A lot of people shorted it. If you look at a long-term chart here, Adobe had a big correction from 630s. Since the AI surge at the beginning of the year, it dropped all the way to 430s, huge percentages, right? But what Adobe ended up doing is embracing AI and using it to build their capabilities for their stuff, right? So they embraced AI, they used it to build their cool stuff, and now this thing has a huge um, this thing has a huge rebound back up versus where it was, because now you could actually get more done using Adobe. So it still made a need for Adobe, right? So we had this big rebound back up, and it corrected a little bit. I might buy Adobe, but yeah, I'll have to look at the PE ratio. But yeah, I think attorneys are still going to be necessary. And I think if they use AI to get stuff done faster, their production will increase as well, right? And so they'll still have a huge need for it. Like a computer's not going to sit in front of a courtroom and argue for you. You know, it might give you the notes to argue, and then in that regard, it's going to make being an attorney more efficient than anything. But I think there's some nickel and dime stuff that it is going to replace, like contracts specifically. Like paying a lawyer to write a contract is unnecessary now because I can have AI write me a very valid, useful contract in about 30 seconds, detailing everything without the need for an attorney. You know, and I've done this before. Like I've done this with a lot of different things. Carol and I had to sign a contract that I had Carol sign a contract. You know, I had other people sign contracts that I needed from them using AI to write. It took me about 30 seconds to have these contracts. And you can even ask AI after you write it. You can say, hey, is this contract valid in like Texas or California or New York? You can ask it and it'll say, yes, you know, this contract is valid. You know, so that's a powerful thing. But again, there's other stuff that you're still going to need an attorney for regardless of AI. So yeah, look at Tesla, guys. Tesla's starting to break down a little bit as well here. Tesla down to 198. You know, went over 200 for a split second. It is down, but yeah, you have your doctorate, but it's not a medical doctorate. Yeah, I got you. I need a haircut now, guys. Ugh. Yeah, I'm a user of Adobe since 2003. It's super proactive, right? It's really useful. The usability of Adobe has increased, not decreased since AI. And that's why Adobe is a good model to follow. Like they embraced AI, they started using it and implementing it in their systems instead of fearing it. Like an example is Blockbuster, right? DVDs came out. Blockbuster feared DVDs instead of embracing DVDs, which in hindsight was a very like obvious choice. It should have embraced it. That's the future of your business. But instead it feared DVDs. It kind of talked smack about DVDs for years until DVDs got so big it couldn't ignore them anymore, and then it was too late. It had to completely redo their business and spend way more money than they would have needed on DVDs, and like it ultimately kept them behind the race for streaming and all this stuff. And so yeah, they also feared streaming as well. So like they should have done it, but by the end of it, it was too late, too little, too late. And so I just hope a lot of these tech businesses embrace AI like they should instead of fearing it, because fearing it just you know, everybody thinks they're different, right? Right now people fear AI. But this is very consistent over, you know, really over a long time throughout history. People fear technology. You know, they feared it. They fear technology change. Like when technology evolves, you know, especially the older population fears it. Right? Why? It's because it's new to them. They don't know it. They don't trust it. You know, new generations are born or you know, kind of raised on it, and then that fear goes away. You know, like some of my in-laws and parents even fear technology. Like they don't know how to use it. Like they don't know how to use like social media. They got to ask us for help, and that's fine. I get it. It's normal. But you know, then generations like my wife and I were raised with cell phones. We were raised with computers. We were raised with all that stuff. And so we embrace that type of technology a lot easier. And now it's AI and people are fearing it and scared of it. But, you know, generations are going to be raised on it as well. And so that fear is going to go away and then eventually it's going to evolve more. So that's just the nature of things. That's how it goes. Anyways, Nvidia right at 105s. Right at the previous closing price. This is a pretty big bounce level, milestone level for it. So you can kind of see it right here. Previous close. Right, this light blue line. We'll see if it holds. It's a big spot. Again, I'm watching that in like $100 for Nvidia, but Nvidia bounced back really nicely. Oh, they definitely fear technology as well. But yeah, I would say it's one and the same in this way. Yowzer. Like they're fearing both. Right? They're fearing tech. They're feeling change because of technology. Like their lives are changing in terms of technology, self-driving cars, computers, AI, and they're fearing that change that comes with technology. In regards to tech, what's your thoughts on crypto, and do you have any educated guesses as to where it's headed in the near future? I'm a big believer in crypto. You know, a lot of people think it's just made up money, right? And they just have a very small-minded view of it. Like you got to think about it like this. There's a couple obvious truths or obvious things that are probably going to happen in the future. I'll say not truths, but obvious, most likely scenarios. One of them is money's digital, right? It's not paper money. Paper money's going away. It's inevitable at this point. Like, paper money's going to go bye-bye. Like, it's not going to be around anymore. We don't use paper money today. Almost nobody does. You know, like, you could have cash, sure, and some older people use cash, sure. Almost everybody else uses, like, their phone to pay for things. You know, they use transfers, they use Zelle, they use Venmo, they use PayPal, they use whatever, right? So everybody is already, like, moved already to a digital, like, currency. So once you acknowledge that truth, and it is a truth, right? Sure, you got some people that are still holding on, but eventually over time, those are going to go away and everybody's going to be digital. And so, again, that's the truth. The next thing you got to look at is like, okay, well, what's the most efficient one, right? And I think cryptocurrency is one of the most efficient ones. Smart contracts, like automatic contracts, you don't need a bank teller to do it. You know, they keep up with inflation. It's kind of like Bitcoin is like the new gold, but it's digital, right? Where old gold is kind of old gold is an inflation protecting asset. You buy gold, you sit on it, it'll keep up with inflation, right? That's why we had the gold standard, which eventually is gone now, but the point is gold would keep up with inflation. You know, I think there needs to be new forms of that, but more so in terms of online money, because that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is like online gold. It appreciates. There's a finite amount of them out there, and they've designed it in that way so that there's a finite amount of them out there. You can send it anywhere for whatever reason. So it even has a little bit more utility than gold. And people will say, hey, well, what's the utility of Bitcoin? It doesn't do anything. It's worthless. It's just made up money. Gold doesn't do anything either. Gold's a shiny rock. You know, like, sure, you use it. Sure, you use it in small quantities to, like, build tech to a certain extent, but that doesn't nearly justify the price of gold, right? The reason gold is inflated in price is because of its rarity, right? And again, that's the same thing with Bitcoin. There's not a lot of Bitcoin out there. Eventually, there's a finite amount of them that can ultimately be mined, right? So you hear mining. They've designed it to where there's a finite amount of them that can be mined. And so the rarity is there as well. There's just a lot of use case arguments for it. And I'll tell you this, I would rather trust Bitcoin or ETH or one of the major cryptocurrencies than, you know, a government-based one, right? Like, personally. And so, again, that's kind of my stance on it. I don't know for sure. We'll see what happens. Maybe it crashes. I don't know. All right. SPY is red. Nvidia bounced a little bit. Tesla's still red. Any other chart you guys would rather have up? I can put, like, gold. Speaking of gold, here's gold at 2460s. Rural still uses cash aggressively, sure, but again, those are the new generations. Over time, they're going to go, you know. Yeah, where's the VIX at? The VIX is all the way back down to 24s. It did spike up to 65s, but the volatility has slowed down a lot since then. We're basically right where we were, maybe a little bit higher, sure. I guess we were at 10s prior to this crazy run in July, on the VIX, that is. But yeah, the VIX is looking all right. Gold is pulled back, and gold broke lifetime highs also. But here's the VIX. You know, the VIX is volatility. When it's high, volatility is heavy. We had a lot of it Monday on the yen situation, and now we have since come back down some here. So, all right, we're at 24s right now, 24s on the VIX. Well, I mean, when it was at 65, that's super high volatility. Dropping, you know, 60+% back down to 20s is a good thing, I would think, in terms of volatility. We don't want super high volatility, and I get it. You might be trying to make it seem like it's the end of the world doomsday scenario still, even though the market has bounced back a heavy amount. But and maybe we are. I don't know. I think 24 is still better than 65, and so that's an optimistic thing for the VIX to go down that much. Now, volatility still could, like, relative to normal, pretty high. So, we'll see. Maybe. I don't know. I think what happened is a lot of people predicted a crash in the market here whenever the SPY and Q dumped on Monday. And so, it's kind of music to their ears almost. But again, if you look at this, right, like here's the big crash that we made all the way down here on a weekly chart. But if you look at it, we've bounced all the way back up to where we were here. And again, it doesn't mean we're not going to keep coming back down. But yeah, we've rebounded back up in the market. The market's back up. So that's good. Again, that correction was necessary. I told people this a lot. The corrections are necessary, and we're going to need to correct. We're not going to be able to go straight up. But it also doesn't mean it's some doomsday end of the world situation. Again, it's an election year, so I just assume people are emotional. All right, guys, so we did have Canadian GDP that just came out. Canadian unemployment just came out. It came in at 6.4%, a little bit lower than the 6.5% expected. So Canadian GDP just came out again, 6.4 versus 6.5% is what it showed up as. A little bit lower, a little bit better on unemployment. Not GDP, unemployment. Canadian GDP didn't come out. Unemployment came out 6.4%. Aside from that, we don't really have much else going on today. All right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand Bitcoin, man. Because a lot of people will just say, "Oh, it's made up money," and then they'll compare it to like the dollar, and it's like it's not supposed to mimic the dollar. It's supposed to mimic gold in a way. So the point is, you're not supposed to use Bitcoin to buy groceries. Just in the same way, you're not supposed to go up to the cashier at the grocery store and give them some like gold chunks of gold, some gold rock. Same thing. It's just not really. Now Tether is kind of like the U.S. form of it, but dip and rip it open. Where do you think the market's going at the open? Futures are starting to turn very red. What futures? What futures? Again, here's the Q. I see the volatility starting to go up. But again, like you also got to put it into perspective from yesterday here. So right, here's yesterday. Right? So here is what we did yesterday. And we went up and now we're dipping down a little bit. What futures are you talking about? Are you talking about the NASDAQ? That's definitely not going really red at least. It's down some, but E-mini. Yeah, I mean, we're down a little bit, but it's not super red, I would say. Like, look how far we were last few days here, guys. We can look at, like, gold. Gold is holding up pretty firm, I would say. VIX is starting to rise, though. VIX is up to 24s. People describe it as a currency. Well, I mean, cryptocurrency's in the name, but just like gold can be used as a currency. And it's kind of like the world currency. So is Bitcoin. It doesn't mean it is supposed to mimic the US dollar, I guess is the easier way to put it, And again, I get it. That's a lot of people's like big argument against it, but again, that just comes from a lack of understanding of it, I think. But it's all love. Maybe y'all are right. Maybe Bitcoin crashes. I don't know. Nothing's definitive anyway. It has no value like gold. Yeah, jewelry, rings are insignificant. Like, You know, the real reason, again, the easiest way to put it is the reason gold is value. The reason gold is valuable is because of its rarity, its scarcity. Um, Jewelry is an insignificant aspect of it, to be completely honest. Gold is rare because of its scarcity. And so crypto has been designed to be the same way. And again, it's an argument we can keep going back and forth on. It's all good. Still, with that said, guys, VIX is pushing up a little bit. Market's coming down a little bit. Nvidia just went red on the day. There's the NASDAQ. We can look at the NASDAQ, the NQ. It's dropping some for sure. Like, in the end, gold's just a shiny rock, you know. That we don't really use for much except for, like, small amounts of jewelry. But again, that gold is valuable because it's rare and scarce, you know. All right, guys. The Anunnaki. Look at the VIX. The VIX is going up, though, guys. Look at the VIX, back up to 2450. Volatility is up there. And this has to do with the NASDAQ falling some. I'm going to look at some news, see if we can find any reason. I might also buy a dip. But yeah, Canadian unemployment came out. The White House official Hochstein says they are going to continue to replenish the strategic oil reserve as well. Coca-Cola filed purchasing terms for an offering of 500 million notes. Macroeconomic uncertainty overseas is what I'm seeing. Oil spiking up on that. Geopolitical uncertainty is what I should say, not macroeconomic uncertainty, but conflicts overseas. Tesla falling down to 197s though, so Tesla is decreasing here. I'll buy this dip on the SPY if we get something good here. Let's try it. I think it doesn't bounce back too quickly here. All right. I want to buy this now. There's 100 shares. There we go. All right, so we took half of the position off. We made about 20 bucks from it so far. See if we can make some more. Took a little bit more off here. All right, so we just scalped it. We made about 25 bucks in about 30 seconds scalping that move. We'll see what else we can build up on the day and profit. Nice little rebound here. Again, I did get my Treasury bill. I did get my Treasury bill dividend. It was $300+. So we made over 5% there. So that's nice. Right, for sure, SK. 100%, dude. Like, again, I'm not doubting that. What I'm saying is, like, it's unnecessary to keep going back and forth. Again, we all have our arguments, and it's all good. Maybe y'all are right. I don't know. But my point is, Bitcoin might be a bunch of numbers. Gold is just a shiny rock, you know. Value is in the mind. You know, what they used to tell me in real estate is market value is only what somebody's willing to pay for it. So, I mean, in that regard, Bitcoin is valuable. In that regard, gold is valuable. Diamonds are valuable. Why? Because people are willing to pay for them. So, I digress. It's TPIL. So, I made, again, TPIL. I'll put this up. Here's the VIX. So TBIO, again, I've got about a $70,000 position here. You can kind of see like it goes back and forth. We've got about 1,400 shares of this. And again, this pays me 5.3% annualized. And they deposit it into... so they pay me about I got about $70,000 in positions. They pay me about 5.3% annualized. They pay me about $3,700 a year. Divided by 12, they pay me this much in monthly dividend payments. And almost exactly this month. It was about, they paid me $306. So it's $3 less than this. But yeah, they pay me about this percentage every month. They deposit it through dividend payments directly into my account. And so, yeah. Really easy way if you want to take advantage of Treasury bonds. But the great thing is that it's liquid. Like I can sell all of this today, get my money within 2 days of settlement, and then do whatever I want with it. And so it's liquid. It's useful in that regard because it's liquid, right? And that's why I have it. So while I hold it, I'll make the dividends, and I'll ultimately be safe locking my money there. Hey, what's up, Dafty? Right. Market value is what market value. Yeah, I've already said people use it in technologies. That's already something I've said. Like we use it in technology, sure, but that doesn't nearly justify, $2,500 an ounce. Like not even close to justifies it. And so, yeah, I mean, look, it's all good. Again, people fear technology evolution, and in that regard, Bitcoin, right, and ETH and other major cryptocurrencies, especially the older population, they're the biggest ones that fear it. And a lot of them are just buying, like, sometimes they'll try to buy it, right? Like some eventually they might pivot and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to buy a crypto. And then they buy like Dogecoin, or they don't buy one of the big boys, they buy Dogecoin. And investing in Bitcoin is very much like investing in anything else in the stock market. Like time heals a lot of wounds. Over time, you should make money, especially with the design of Bitcoin, with the finite nature of mining. Coins, like there's only a finite amount of them out there. Over time, supply and demand should increase the value of it. And so it's a long-term thing. Short-term, volatility's there. Anything could freaking happen. Long-term, you should be okay. But nobody knows. I might be wrong, and maybe it crashes. Genuinely no idea. Not an investment professional. Don't sue me. Not liable. But yeah. Yeah, over time it probably will. Yowzer, it just depends. My grandfather said, stupid people buy invisible coins. Right, but isn't all money invisible at this point in time, Kane? Like a large majority of people here haven't used cash in the last week. A large majority of people here, regardless of what they say. They might say, nah, I used cash yesterday. It doesn't matter. Most people here haven't. I actually have used cash, right? But that's just because it's, vacation and different situation. I'll tell you this, a large majority of my purchases have not been through cash. I think the fear is that Gov can shut it down quicker than with cash. They can't shut it down, though. They can't shut down Bitcoin. It's too diversified across the world, right? Like they might not allow you to buy it or do whatever with it, but they can't shut it down. And that's another use case argument for it. Nvidia testing that previous closing price. So we are testing that previous close. I deliver pizza. Cash is 50% of the orders. Maybe. I'm sure they tip in cash or whatever, but... All right, so we did get that big rebound back up here. Rangy day. Nvidia is still technically green. Here's the Q. Tech heavy Q is bouncing back some as well. Here we got the VIX that was rising. It's probably pulling back a little bit. Yep, it is. So I'm about flat equities wise today. We made a little bit of money earlier, and now we're just sitting tight. Yeah, no, they hold a lot of Bitcoin. If you see, governments, institutions, banks hold Bitcoin and crypto now, so they use it. So once that's how you know it's valuable is because they use it. Especially now that it's been ingrained in ETFs, right? Like Bitcoin ETH ETFs, like that's a thing now, and so yeah. Does your T-bill renew every 3 months? Yeah, so monthly it does this cycle here that you can kind of see. Right, so monthly it'll do this cycle where so monthly it'll do this cycle where week, correction, week, correction, week, correction. And this is just from the dividend payments going out. Dividend payment, but it basically stays roughly flat. Like you can kind of see, like we're in a down cycle now. So technically I'm down $115, but it gains $14 on the day. And so the big gain of this is that it deposits like 5 point something % annualized into my account every single month in a dividend payment. And so again, if you want to see this is what it deposited into my account at the start of this month in August, right? And at the beginning of August, this is what it deposited, $305.77. So, which is about 5 point something %. I don't know exactly how much, but it's 5 point something. The crypto that's confiscated is crypto that has been used for illegal purposes, like Silk Road is a good example of this, right? Like they got a lot of crypto for that, dude. Gold just reflects the true value of fiat currency. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could argue that. Definitely doesn't reflect the current value of fiat currency. And that's the point of it. Right? Like people criticize crypto and Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is used as an inflation protecting asset, right? Like the US dollar doesn't keep up with inflation anymore. We used to be on the gold standard. Now the dollar, if we would have kept up with inflation or with the gold standard, a US dollar would be much more valuable than it is today. Right, and inflation wouldn't nearly be as significant today. We'd have a lot more buying power. So. All right, guys. AMD sitting here. You guys ready? We're going to be day trading today, too. I don't think I'm going to do a day trading stream, but we're going to be day trading today. Get ready for CPI week next week. Crazy week, honestly. Honestly, the next few weeks are packed full of stuff, dude. Next few weeks are packed full of stuff. Next week, we got CPI, PPI, retail sales, I believe. So, yeah, next week we got CPI, or we have PPI Tuesday. Expectations are... Let me see what the expectations are. I got to look somewhere else. Hold on. Let's go ahead and talk about CPI next week and see what it's expected to show up as, because that's a big report. So CPI drops the 13th, August 13th. or no, PPI, I'm sorry, drops the 13th. It's expected at 0.1%. 0.1%. Last time it showed up at 0.2%. This time they're expecting 0.1%. CPI shows up Wednesday. It's expected at 0.2% for core, 3.2% year over year. And the big one, guys, the good one is CPI year over year is expected at 2.9% for the main CPI report. So it is expected to decrease. Last time it showed up at 3% even. This time they're expecting 2.9%. Month over month expected at 0.2%. Last time it showed up at minus 0.1%. So, yeah, this is a big report. Big report. We also have retail sales data coming out on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday retail sales expected at 0.3% next week. We got the New York Empire State data, Philly Fed Index data coming out at the same time. Friday, we got Michigan consumer sentiment data. So, looking at our votes, 70% of people think the Fed does not do a surprise rate cut next week. 70%. You can't travel with more than 10K. Not at the airport. That's the easiest way to get searched. Do you think there's a possibility Intel will go bankrupt? Yes. But I don't think it's a high possibility, but I think there's a chance. Sure, there's always a possibility. It's just not a very super high one. But I would say Intel is higher than it's been lately. You know, I'm out of Intel. I invested into it after some big dips, but I cut it over this big pullback here. And it's at $20 a freaking share, too. But I think there's also big risk, big reward here with Intel. I think there's a chance it goes bankrupt, but I also think there's a chance that it rebounds, 30, 40, 50% short term as well, back up to 25, 30 bucks a share. So I think there's a chance it bounces back heavily too, and it's high risk, high reward, Powell's definitely not going to do that because people are becoming more vocal about wanting it, and yeah, they're scared of a recession, sure. Super micro is a swing trader's dream. Yeah, I mean, super micro, the problem is that the float is tiny, right? So with the tiny float, the risk is super high. Like this thing might go up 100%, it might go down 75%, and the risk is just there, and it's profound. I'm not messing with it, to be honest. Elf. Well, I think Elf was up way too much, though. So, Elf went up way too much. I think this is probably from earnings, right? Elf is up huge percentages on the year, like 100%, or it was now. So it pulling back is not the craziest thing. It's not down enough for me to want to buy it, though. I don't know it well enough. Yeah, the implied volatility is ridiculous. It's a low float microchip stock, Daphne. So super micro semiconductors is just super risky. It might pay you big. It might cause you to lose tons of money, too. Super micro pawn actually saying they're going to do a 1-for-10 split also here. So we'll see. Also, if you haven't already, check out Apex. Apex is a funded account program in futures. They give you a demo, test your skill with a demo account. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail the test, you only lose the monthly subscription. And they have paid out hundreds of millions of dollars. They're one of the most legit in the world. The cool thing to understand about this, guys, say you want the 50K. This is going to cost you like 40 bucks if you use my link. For the time being, guys, you can also get the 150, which is 150K in funding, 250, which is 250K in funding, 300K, which is 300K in funding, for the same price, about 40 bucks. If you use my link and coupon code, is $40. They're going to give you a demo with this. The base one is 150 for these three. They're going to give you a 150K demo. If you can make 9K without losing 5K, so a reasonable ratio, they fund you 150K with a 90% split, and they pay out hundreds of millions. It also comes with real-time data, and if you were going to pay for that real-time data outside of this, it's going to cost you about the same price. It's going to cost you about $40 for that real-time data. So the value is there. And it's just the best. It's the best of both worlds scenario, in my opinion. And they're a sponsor, so I'm biased. They pay me money. You want to confirm all this stuff with them. But it's the best of both worlds. You're still risking something. You don't want to lose. You learn how to trade under pressure. For new day traders, you're still learning how to trade under pressure. But if you pass the test, you still get a 90% split once you're funded, as long as you can follow their rules. And so it's similar to putting the money up yourself with a 90% split. The risk is just way, way less than most new traders. They end up putting up a couple grand and losing all of that. Instead of risking thousands, you can risk $40, And again, the base one is $30 for the same thing. It's $25K in funding if you trade small like me. That might be useful. But again, they are a sponsor. They pay me money. I'm biased because of it. Understand CFTC 4.41, hypothetical or simulated performance, have limitations, chat, and all that good stuff. I'll put the link up here if you want to check it out. Resets, I think, right now are only $35 universally as well. So there's the link. Check it out. I don't use either of those, Thomas. This is what you saw me trading on today is just a regular stock brokerage account with TD or with Thinkorswim, You can cancel it anytime. Yeah, I mean, you can cancel your monthly subscription. It's $40 a month, $30 for the small one, $40 for the big one. So, and yeah, I mean, you're risking $30. You could reset it if you lose the account. Say you hit the max loss, you could reset it for $35. You can cancel it whenever you want. It's not like you're locked into a year-long contract or anything crazy. It's pretty standard. Hey, thanks, Corey. You as well. I'm just glad to be freaking home, guys. I don't know if y'all could tell. I'm just happy to be home, dude. I've been traveling a lot this summer, and my life is blessed. I'm very happy to be able to travel the country and see cool stuff all year. Go to Michigan. We went to the beach, went to Baton Rouge. Like, we've been traveling a lot, and it's been great. But I'm just ready to be home for an extended period of time. I haven't been home a lot. I miss my home. I miss my bed. I miss my dogs. Like, I got to see my doggies, and honestly, I felt so bad for Rosie. We had to put her in like a doggy daycare, and we got her like a suite. It should have been really nice, but you could tell she thought we left her, and I feel so bad for her. When she got in the car, she was so excited to see us. So excited to see us. Bruce didn't care. Bruce was just chilling. He was happy, but Rosie was just distraught. I felt bad. We'll probably bring her with us next time we go somewhere. Yo, John, now that lots have been returned to Bank of Japan, I'm wondering where cash is going to come from to prop up market. Dude, my headphones just did this weird thing again. Let's see if it comes back to normal. Yeah, hold on. Sorry, my headphones just did this very strange thing, chat. So I got to disconnect it and connect them again. There we go. That's better. Yeah, this weird staticky noise with yeah, Rosie's a sweetheart, man. I love her. She's like my baby. They have two completely different personalities. Bruce isn't afraid of anything. Bruce will run right up to anything, other dogs, anybody, and he's just happy. Very tough. Big. Rosie is very, very, for lack of a better word, spoiled. Like she's super picky with food. Bruce will eat anything. She's super apprehensive and kind of scared around people and dogs. And she loves us. Like, she's a huge baby with us, but with other people, she just doesn't trust them. Yeah, I mean, I think he's looking for discrepancies between assets, Guy and Van, and so he's just doing the smart move for big money. Now that trillions of dollars have been returned, I'm wondering where cheap cash is going to come from to prop up the market. Wonder if you could talk about cash on the sidelines. Yeah, so you're talking about, when you say cash, you're really talking about leverage. You're talking about lending, I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't know. Interest rates are going to be coming down soon, so maybe people are just going to use for that. I don't know how much they're going to come down or how long that's going to take. But yeah, we'll see. Dog sitters can come to your house. No offense, but I don't want some random person coming to my house and living in my house. Not somebody that I don't know, Yeah, 100% Daphne. I think that's what it is. And honestly, female German Shepherds, they say, are the best dogs. Like, my dad is a big believer in, like, girl dogs being the best dogs you could have, right? They're more loyal. They're less, they try less hard to be, like, dominant in that way. And they, once they lock onto you as, like, once they imprint on you, like, they're your best friends for life, And again, that makes sense. Like, my mom had a dog. We called her Bear. Right, my dad still thinks that Bear was like a wolf dog because my grandmother's house. I grew up in like Walker, Louisiana, which is like the country in Louisiana. It's like the country kind of. And my grandma lived out there in a little bitty house. And my mom had this dog growing up. His name was Bear, or her name was Bear. She was a female, and she walked up, no collar, nothing, to my grandmother's house. And so my sister and I were like, hey, can we keep her? It's a puppy, right? As a puppy. And my mom and dad were like, no, leave the dog. And so they left her out there, and she just kind of stayed on my grandma's porch for like a few hours. And so eventually my dad came outside and he was like, all right, like we can keep her. That dog eventually grew up to be one of the biggest German Shepherd looking dogs I've ever seen. She was huge, like very, very big. She looked like a wolf, but she was obviously like either a German Shepherd or something close to it. All black, that was like my mom's favorite dog she ever had. That dog was so protective over my mom that if I hugged my mom, Bear was coming up to me and getting in my face, but also just genius smart. Like, this dog would literally knock on the door if she had to go pee and then turn around and kind of bark at you. She would knock on the door, scratch at it, look at you, and bark. And so that's how we knew she had to go to the bathroom. Very well trained after a certain point, and just great dog, honestly. But yeah, she was a female German Shepherd. My dad still thinks she's a wolf dog. I disagree, but yeah. Red day today. I mean, we're slightly red. It's not like we're crazy red. If you look at the SPY here, if you look at the SPY here. Here's the previous close. Here's where we are now. Not some big difference. There's the previous close on AMD. Here's where we are now. Nvidia slightly above the previous close. So Nvidia's technically green on the day. Slightly green. And so yeah, we'll see what happens. We're also going to do a day trading show today, guys. So we're also going to be doing a day trading show. Stick around. We are going to be doing a day trading show. So bear with me, chat. We are going to be day trading live today, as we always do. And we're going to be trading TOS and a funded account. So again, I did decide to do a day trading show. Originally, I didn't know. All right, guys. So yeah, we are going to be day trading today. Stick around. Let's do this. If it, for whatever reason, doesn't bring you there to the right stream, I'll put this stream up so you guys can see it. But if it doesn't bring you to the right stream in a second, I'll put this stream up so you can check it out. Here's the link to the upcoming day trading stream. Just go to this link. Well, that'll bring you right to the stream. And again, my internet's better than yesterday, so that's good. We're not going to be running out. Yeah, so again, been a crazy week. Yeah, so this week's been crazy with big market swings in the VIX. Yeah. We'll see if we get something crazy today. It's time. Get rid of non-farm payroll stuff. And then, yeah, guys. So again, let me know what you guys think. As soon as you get to the stream, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Help support your boy here in this channel. Alright, guys. So, yeah, we're going to go to the stream right now. It's about to start right now. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks so much. We're going to move over to this crypto show. Or not crypto, day trading show. It'll probably last about an hour and a half, maybe an hour. Yeah, so again, guys, let's get over here right now. I appreciate the love. We're going to start this stream up right now. Let's make sure we got redirect on. Again, as soon as we go to this stream, hit the subscribe button, guys. Hit the notification bell. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. And, yeah. Day trading show is ready, guys. We are ready. Let's get started here. I'm going to start the stream up right meow. I'll see you guys over there. Go to that link in chat. If it doesn't bring you there, it should redirect you straight over there. I'll see you guys over there.